Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Tonya Lanthier, the founder and CEO of DentalPost, an online job board and career resource for dental professionals. Welcome to the call, Tonya.
Thank you, Malcolm. Glad to be here.
Tonya, you grew your company's revenue from $2 million in 2014 to $4.2 million in 2017, a 106% increase, and in 2018, you hit around 4.5 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Sure. We're an online mobile job board. We're in the dental industry where people find jobs and they connect to build teams that excel. And we have data that you can use to make a better hire.
Awesome. Fantastic. And can you share how your company differs from the other ones that might be serving the same market?
Sure. There's the big giant, job boards, and then we're a niche job board, and that's what makes us unique from everybody else. And we also have testing on our site where you can get a personality test for free. You can get your core values, type those, and your work culture assessments that has to do with what environment you're happy working with, fast pace, slow pace, high technology, low technology, big office, small office. It works better when you're in a happier place because we're in, 60% of our time is spent at work, and it's a good thing to be at a place that you love. And so that's what we base our job board on, is we want you to be in a place that you love to work.
Right. Can you share what were the three biggest drivers over the past few years that allowed you to grow your company from 2 million in 2014 to 4.5 million in 2018?
The three biggest. I grew the company to 1 million by myself with my significant other, and I started hiring help. I became smarter when it was like, I can't do this all by myself. I was practicing dental hygiene as a hygienist 3 to 4 days a week. I have twins, and I was managing them and growing the company, which actually was a hobby of mine, just helping people at first. And then it hit 1 million, and I was like, I got to hire some help here. I started hiring people that were smarter than me and that could help me drive build the platform out and build the sales force out, and just the technology. And that was probably the biggest thing that I did, was hire a few very smart people.
Okay, great. So number one, you hired smart people to help you build out the platform as well as help you with sales.
Yes.
Awesome.
To look at it in a different avenue. Yeah.
Okay. How about driver number two?
Driver number two is another. I hired a social media experts because I was doing a lot of it myself before, Facebook started changing their algorithms to get really complicated. I hired a company called Vert, and they have helped me with Google AdWords and all that stuff that I really did. It was a time suck for me, where I can be focused on speaking and getting in front of the audience, and traveling and influencing.
Okay, great. So you hired a social media expert and also a paid ads expert.
Yeah. That was the second one. The third one was I started speaking, to give me more time there. So I started putting things in place, more structure around my life, and more structure around the company. I'm also a member of EO, which helped. I've taken a few classes, and I started doing Rockefeller Habits, where we have a rhythm where you'd meet, have stand-up meetings, and we would have, we sit down and do our quarterly, our quarterly goals, and we'd meet quarterly to do that, and we'd lay them out and put deadlines on everything. Just more structure. The third thing was really structure, and so I could get out there and speak and, utilize my time wisely instead of being down in the weeds at the company.
Right. Okay. So the 3 drivers to recap: one, you hired people smarter than you to build out your platform and help with sales. Second key driver is that you hired a social media and paid ads expert. Now, is that the same company, Vert, that did both for you, or is that 2 separate people that you hired? Or
I'm sorry. Say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sure. For the number 2 driver, you mentioned how you hired a social media expert and someone to help you with their paid ads. Was that the same company, Vert, that did both?
Yes, they're a full service house. Yeah,
okay,
wheelhouse.
Perfect. And then the third driver was that you start putting in more structure around your life and around the company, and as to how you go about with your planning and achieving your targets.
Yes, and I was still practicing as a hygienist, and so I went down to work practicing like once a month, twice a month, and then I finally stopped practicing about a little bit over a year and a half ago.
Okay, so how has that changed things now that you're no longer practicing?
Oh, I love dentistry, and I love, taking care of patients. I do miss it a lot, but it gave me more of an opportunity to focus on my team and keep the culture really tight. Mm-hmm. It allowed me to be more focused instead of having, to go practice away from the company and then come back. But it actually it was good. It was a good and bad. It kept me in tune with what my list, what my users are doing, but I've done it for 23 years. So I think I've got it down now, but it was just hard for me to let it go.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Now, can we talk a little bit more about when you realized that you needed to hire more people to further grow your business? Was this simply the case where you just had no life because you were doing everything by yourself and you said, oh, I just need someone? Or was there some other aha moment that opened your eyes toward hiring?
Of course, I wasn't sleeping. I was getting about 5 hours a night because I would go to work and see hygiene patients, and then I'd come into work, and then I'd work at night, and then set the tone for everything and where we were going. I had to hire permanent people instead of, I kind of had a little bit of help where I'd hire people to come in and help me do the letters, and then I'd stay up late and do the letters, and I had the ladies in in our neighborhood helping me do letters and sending, I sent snail mail out for a long time. So I basically hired more help just to kind of take a load off of me.
Right. Okay. And at that point when your business was $1 million a year, that was enough cash flow to actually pay someone comfortably to help you with the work, or was it still kind of a tight business at that time and you had to perhaps
no, I could pay for, I'm pretty conservative. So with money, I'm very frugal and I like efficiency. And I was, saving money because I knew the platform was going to have to be rebuilt at some point as well. So, I had the money to hire somebody. Yeah.
Okay. That makes it easier, right?
I've never ran the company in the red at all. I've always been in the positive for the company. So, and I've always reinvested in my marketing as where I've always spent my money to grow it. And yeah, I just had to go, okay, I can't spend as much on marketing, and I need to hire somebody.
Yeah. Well, you have to make the resource allocation, right, to make it right.
Yeah.
Yep. So in regards to the second criteria about how technology and the platform changed and you found that you weren't able to do it yourself anymore, similar to number 1, and you decided to hire an agency to help you do it. What was your thinking between outsourcing it to an agency as opposed to hiring someone full-time to have that person live and breathe it 24 hours a day?
Well, I loved social media, and so did I had my sister helping me a little bit too, but we would kind of tag team on Facebook and Instagram, and I built it to about 10,000 people following us, and then it was like, okay, I got to hand this over because it's taken too much of my time, and so I started doing the research, and a person, I can't remember who told me about Vert. Somebody told me about Vert. I went and interviewed them. They had just kind of started their company. So we kind of grew up together, and they've made the Inc. 5000 as well. We've kind of grown up together in the same direction.
Okay, great. How do you spell their name? Is it
V is in Violet, E-R-T.
Okay,
Bert.
cool. Nice that you guys grew together. Worked out well.
Yeah,
and
great.
For driver number 3, when you mentioned about starting to put more structure around your business, can you share a little bit about how that evolved and why you started doing it, and how did you determine what structures to put into place?
Okay, so I was in the chair practicing, and I would have, you can only talk about so much, home care. And so I'd have these businessmen come in Buckhead, and I would be in their mouth, and I just would start talking about what kind of business they were in. And then I was like, well, I started a business and I'm doing this and this, but I've got this issue that I'm trying to figure out, and I need to go find somebody that can help me do this. And all these businessmen were like, you need to go here, or you need to do this, and you need to join EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. And I'm like, what is EO? And they were like, you just have to trust us. And I remember I went to the website and I sent an email, and I met this guy at a coffee shop, and he told me a little bit about EO, and it kind of sounded like a cult at first. But what it ended up being was the best thing I ever did in my whole entire life, that it opened up doors for resources for me. And they teach classes on how to put structure in. They have a book called Scaling Up by Vernon Harnish that's been around. He founded the company over 30 years ago, EO. And there's just, it talks about, money and cash and structure and people. And those are the 4 things that you really need to pay attention to grow your company. And I started taking classes on it, and I learned to implement some of the structures that they had talked about. And then being in the dental offices, I ended up knocking my teeth when I was 8 years old. And so I've spent a lot of time in the dental world. So that's how I ended up in becoming a hygienist, is from my wreck as a little girl and knocking my tooth out. But when I started to try to start a family, I had a bout with infertility. And when I had a bout with infertility, I started temping all over Atlanta, and I temped in over 100 offices. And once I temped in over 100 offices, I started to see in these offices structures. I started to see the good offices had a bonus model in it. And people showed up, and the leader was doing great things to bond them together and take them on trips and make them look at themselves harder. And they worked together and got vulnerable. And I saw these offices that it wasn't great at all. And they had no structure, and you could see it trickle down to the patient care. So that's kind of where my structure started to put, that I learned to I knew how things worked in better offices, but really learning how to do it and learning through EO, I was like, I've got to put this in my company, and I've got to make this work. But I already had some structure bases from being in dentistry and learning how good offices run efficiently.
Right. Oh, great. Awesome. You're the second person in another interview also mentioned Scaling Up as a book that was helpful to them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I have to check that one out. It's 2 times now. Now, you mentioned before how you hired some people to help with sales. How did they help out? How did they help out with your sales?
With sales, I haven't really put together a sales team. I hired some marketing people to come in and look at everything and how I was doing it, what avenues, and that helped. I've hired some consultants to come in through the years as well, and that also helped. But now I've got a permanent marketing person, and she has a person that helps her with marketing. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, but I would just pull people in to give me advice, and then I take best practices from that.
Now, is there when you're selling, I guess the way your business model works, right, is employers want to post a job listing, and they pay for access to your platform and to your your community and your and the people who are searching for jobs, right?
Yes.
So is it all entirely self-serve, like the Craigslist sort of model, or do you have a team
Yes.
that's okay?
Yes. It's self-serve. I do have a team, but and I have somebody that people can call and get customer service help. But we've made it so simple to use DentalPost that people can go online, they can create their own account, and then what they do is they can go through and search the resume database. They can look at people's, they can look at their experience, they can look at their testing, they can look at, if the person puts up a picture, if they want them to see who they are. And then they can either post a job, or they can go through the resume database, or they can buy a combo and do both. That's what we have on the job posting service. And then we have a DentalPost EDU, which is people in dentistry have to have continuing ed. So I built another platform where you can take credits. You can get your credits there in your education.
Okay, and that's another revenue source for your business?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. What percentage of your business is coming from the continuing ed?
It's very small right now. I have about 25 courses, and I built it, and then I had to go backwards to go forward, and I had to rewrite the whole website platform. So we put that on halt. It's there, it's being used, but we haven't put a lot of marketing around it yet because we had to rewrite. There's we just launched our whole new website. So
right,
a rebirth.
Yeah. Now, how are the dentistry professionals now fulfilling their continuing education requirements? Is it they have to go in person somewhere for the training?
They have to do. Some states require that you go in person and then partially online. So usually it's half and half, but every state it varies in percentage of how much you have to get it online or in person.
Okay. So I imagine there's probably a lot of other companies out there offering continuing ed for the dental professionals.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's many companies offering continuing ed, especially like a company that makes a product like Sorona that's, where they make crowns and they've got training on how to run the machines and things like that. Yeah. There's a lot of training out there.
Right. But on the other hand, you have people who are coming to your site looking for a job or looking for career resources. So you have a natural progression for them as well.
Yes. Yes. And then I have blogs, and I have places where they can sell their things like classifieds. If a student comes in, she's looking for a job and she wants to sell her instruments from dental school that she doesn't need them anymore because she's going into an office that provides them for her, she can actually sell them on our site.
I didn't realize that you, as a student, you have your own equipment, but once you start working, you no longer need it. Is that what you're telling me?
You don't need it unless the doctor's going to absorb it, or you're just going to give it to the doctors usually. Usually the doctors already have their cassettes set up and they provide your instruments for you.
Right. Okay. So good. So it's a marketplace that you have there. Cool. I saw on your website that there's a community aspect to what you provide as well. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I've started some communities on Facebook called Dental Impact and Dental Posters. Dental Posters is basically to share anything in dentistry that's out there. I have not a social platform on DentalPost. I've thought about adding one, but the thing is we've got some things we've got to do first before we end up looking at a social platform. So I've added the Facebook components onto it that feed back and forth between my site.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, once you have a community aspect of your site, it will require someone to monitor it as well, right?
Yes.
Sure that,
and people can be mean on that, and I do not promote that at all. And on my site, I'm going to have a ranking system on our site, and I'm going to control that where people can't be rude to each other or just destroy each other, because I don't understand what's wrong with our world these days. They really want to beat people up, each other up.
Yeah, well, one way to filter it is to make it a paid community where you have to pay a small monthly fee, perhaps. Yeah, and that will filter out a lot of the people out there who have more time on their hands.
Yeah.
and they know to do with. So
Yeah, unfortunately.
can you talk a little bit about your 2019 plans? You mentioned a little bit about building out your continuing education. Any other plans that you can share with us?
Yeah, we're upgrading our CRM system right now, and right now we're adding a reward system and a ranking system for our employers and our users, so that we can you can manage it a little bit. Our employers can manage it a little bit better, and then the ones that are showing up for interviews, that they get rewarded. The ones that aren't showing up, or they don't call back, or they don't have very good, interview etiquette, we're gonna rank them so that the employer can pick a better hire for their office.
And vice versa, I suppose, too. So what are the criteria that the professionals are ranking and rating the employers who they are meeting?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. We haven't laid that part out. That one's a little bit harder to do.
Because they are the ones paying the bills, and no one's going to want a negative review.
Yeah, it's not like Yelp. So it will be somewhat like Yelp, but you can't, it's on the double side. You have to be really careful.
Sure. What do you see as your biggest marketing and sales challenges for 2019?
Marketing and sales challenges? I think that social media has changed a lot. I think that the days of growing your company on social media is harder. So I really think that going back to face speaking, getting in front of audiences, touching influencers is going to be the best way to market. Have associations. Make sure you have good strategic plans with them. I think it's going to be our biggest challenge for marketing.
Okay. Now, I know before you mentioned how you're just so busy doing everything, hence you need to hire more people. And you're talking about doing more face-to-face marketing. Are you envisioning yourself doing the face-to-face marketing, or hiring people to do that for you?
I'm already starting to hire people to go and be in front of people, and as well as I'm going. We speak to DHS, which is the Dental Hygiene Seminars. Heather Mapp owns them, and then she does like 9 events, and we'll get in front of about 5,500 dental hygienists that are about to graduate and become registered dental hygienists. So we're the perfect person to kind of help with their next steps. So she was actually my instructor in college, and she started a company and she's grown it. I'm very proud of her for over the last 30 years.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's done well. She teaches the board review for dental hygiene. Nice.
And also working with the DHS and helping their students as they graduate. I imagine they might be turning to your board to help them find a job. Would that be the case?
Yes, that's their next steps. Once they get they take the board review, and then they take their board. Mm-hmm. And the next step is to start interviewing, put together their resumes. And that's what we help with. We talk about how to dress, how to, interview and etiquette, how to sell yourself, because it's a competitive world out there.
Mm-hmm. And what are the alternatives for people to find a job other than DentalPost? What are the other ways that they would consider?
I can tell you what I did. I was a go-getter. So I would take my resume, I'd have my picture on the resume. I would go by offices and, I would sell myself. I'd go, hey, I'm looking for a job. Give me a chance to come in and take care of your patients and your doctor. I'll work hard. Then I would I started showing up at the association meetings where the doctors would have a continuing ed, and then I'd show up and say, hey, my name's Tonya Lanthier. I just graduated dental hygiene school. I'm looking for a job. I've got experience in dental assisting, and I'd blah, 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 I'd sell myself. And my profession is mostly women. And I think women, we don't We don't sell ourselves. We won't toot our own horns, and it's okay to do that when you're trying to get a job. It's okay to be forward in that aspect, and believe in yourself. But a lot of women won't ask for what they want. They won't even ask for a raise a lot of times too. They're waiting for it to be given.
Yeah, I've kind of noticed that too, even with the interviews I've been doing. Right, I make offers. I ask the executives if they're interested in having an interview and sharing their insights, as how I had reached out to you as well. And I found that the percentage of women who agreed to be interviewed is lower than what I had anticipated relative to the number that are actually out there running businesses. So I think, and my speculation is similar to yours. I'm thinking just that women aren't as interested, as keen as tooting their own horn, as you mentioned, as perhaps their male counterparts might be.
Yeah, I think if you own a business, that you should be talking about your business and proud of it, and be loud and proud. That's what I always say. Be loud and proud.
Yeah. Sounds like a good college phrase, loud and proud.
Well, you're helping people too. If you believe in what you're doing and you're passionate and you're changing people's lives, then I don't know why you wouldn't want to talk about what you do. Because every day I work, it's not working. It's like, I help people get jobs. I help them put food on the table, help them pay for their car and their house, and take kids on vacation. I look at my job as that way, what I do. And I talk to my programmers that way too. I'm like, what you're programming right here is going to help somebody get a job and make money and buy food and comfort and pay the bills and the power and the heat. And, they can go to Disney World with their kids. And, you get a different mindset when you look at it, how it trickles down.
Yeah, definitely. Now, who are your ideal employers for the ones to use your website, and who are your ideal dental professionals to use your website?
Any dental professional that needs a job or they need help in their office. Pretty much. I mean, my ideal is, and from the doctor side, they want somebody that's going to show up and be responsible and, fit in their office. And, if I've added the DISC personality test because I believe in it. You've got your extroverts and your introverts, and you've got your people that are, more detail oriented, and the ones that are big picture oriented, and the doctors that are high D's. You don't want to put another high D, driven person together with the doctor has a driven personality and then your hygienist has a driven personality. They'll kill each other. Right. There's a lot of science behind it, or aspects to personalities and core values, and, that you need to look at, or where their interests come from. Where does that person's underlying need come from? Is it to contribute? Is it from love? Is it to control? Or is it to be accurate? When it's to be accurate and control, then you've got a certain type of person that's going to be in a certain type of role, and you got somebody that comes from love and contribution. You're going to have more of a salesperson that loves people, and they're going to go find any resources they can to help their patient. So you have to look at where that person comes from as well. Right. I'm adding an EI, emotional intelligence assessment on my site, and an emotional adjustment on my site.
Yeah, when I asked about who your ideal dentists are, for example, on the employer side, I was thinking more along the lines of, is their practice a certain size that would be a good fit for the people who use your site to find a job? Do they?
I serve everybody. I serve them all.
Serve them all. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I serve them all. It's a great platform. It is one of those things when you're a dental professional, you got to find the right one, but I serve them all. They can post whatever job they want on there, and the criteria to get the person that they need. Okay.
So you haven't found that there's a huge difference between a one dentist office as opposed to a larger office that has a group of dentists working?
I mean, of course, there's a big difference. You've got a job seeker that may not work in a huge corporation, where they, they may not, they have certain rules they follow about how they treat patients. And then in a boutique, you're going to have a different set of rules how you treat patients. You know, you're going to be high quality, you're going to be quantity. So you have to have the right person with where their ethics are, and where where they are comfortable selling, or if they're comfortable how that office operates in a quantity or quality.
Right. Okay. How about in terms of the services that the dental practice offers? Is that a area of differentiation and segmentation for you?
I mean, I've got that broken down on the site. I mean, I've got every criteria broken down on the site, and even philosophy. So if you're trained under Coyce, or you're trained under a Pankey theory, or all these Spear, then if you have a employee that's worked under a doctor that's trained under that certain theory, then you're going to be that person's going to be more valuable to that job, to that doctor.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about everything in that aspect of what you need in the practice.
Okay. And is your marketing team and your outsourced partners, are they taking that in consideration as well? Like, for example, are they marketing to boutique dentistries that follow the Sphere philosophy?
Well, we're not quite. I mean, you don't actually have to market towards those. I mean, that doesn't actually
make a difference.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. Not at all.
Okay, fantastic. 3 last questions for you. Say you're on a freeway in Georgia that's moving fast, and you have a billboard that you put up there, and on that billboard, typically people only have 6 seconds to read what's on the billboard. What would be the billboard message for DentalPost?
Hire right from our site.
Hire right from our site. Okay, good. And can you recap again who your ideal dental practice offices as well as dental professionals are, and what's the best way for them to contact you and your team, or do you just go self-service and get on your platform?
Yeah, you can go to DentalPost.net and set up an account. We serve all professions in dentistry. We also serve all dental offices. Like I said, you can go to DentalPost.net and you can sign up under account. Whether you are, there are employer accounts and there's job seeker accounts. So if you're looking for a job, you're a job seeker. And if you're looking to hire, you're an employer.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today, Tonya, and sharing how you accelerated your company's high-value sales.
Oh, you're welcome. It was fun.
We've been speaking with Tonya Lanthier, the founder and CEO of DentalPost, about her company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.